Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we return talking about something that we actually made a video on in Legion. If you've been following the channel for this long, congratulations, you're awesome. But yeah, we made an identical video on this exact guy's spreadsheet going into Legion, and I believe it was called something like everything that you would ever need to do as soon as you hit 110 in Legion, something like that. I don't know, it'll be whatever the title of this video is. I've yet to find it, but regardless, we're talking again about the famous Medivh. It's a Russian guy, plays probably on the Russian EU servers, and he has made a, as he calls it, a lexicon. Been calling it a god book, which is a bit of a funny way to describe it, but regardless, pretty much everything you would ever need to know about the first maybe month and a half, 2 months of Battle for Azeroth. And I wanted to share this with you. The primary goal of this video is to tell you about this. If you don't know about this, you should. It's very well-deserved credit for this guy. He did a great job with this. It's very similar to Legion, and that's a good thing because it was very well done in Legion. So the link is going to be in the description down below, guys. And I'd also recommend checking out the guy's Discord here. Now, this Discord has easily been the most productive discussion of Battle for Azeroth I've had. And I hate to do this immediately into the video, but there's a lot of misinformation and nonsense criticism about the expansion. If you want to go in here and learn, objective truths about ways to improve in the first month to 2 months of Battle for Azeroth, you should be in this channel. Okay, he's got a bunch of Russian discussion happening, but there's also English as well. And it's a lot of really healthy discussion. I'm really, really happy I joined. It feels like my kind of people, and they're talking about things that are actually relevant instead of just bashing on things that they don't like. So anyway, regardless. So he's got the typical thing here. He's got a lot of things. We'll go through them today. But again, in the description, I would recommend reading this. We're not going to read anything. Just going to give you the brief discussion. And I want to talk about something that you see here immediately, okay? He posted this in big, bold, red letters here. A huge stealth update has been applied on beta 2.9, spelled wrong. I'm slowly updating guide to reflect it. Last update in my Discord channel. So yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, this is one of the main reasons I want to make this video. Now, this video is something that people have been saying I should make just to kind of promote him again, and that's totally fine. That's a big part of why I'm doing it. But this is the other big part of why I'm doing it. This is really bizarre. They've basically like hot fixed the beta, and there was, from what I could see, no real notes about this. There was no build notes. I feel like Wowhead's kind of given up covering the beta, and rightfully so. It's effectively over. But it's not over this time, and that's the big difference. Battle for Azeroth clearly, demonstratively, has a lot of work that's still going to need to be done, and we're less than a week away. So if they're making changes like this right now, yeah, that's kind of scary. So we're going to talk a little bit about this, okay? August 4th beta, more changes came in, fixing, I don't know. So one of the big things was contracts went from 25 to 10 reputation. If you don't know what contracts are, they're talked a little bit about, I think in the professions tab. No, let's see, in the reputation tab. Here's an example, contracts. Enter a contract with the champions of Azeroth that allows you to gain reputation with them every time you complete a world quest. Obviously, going to be very, very important for getting reputation in the first few weeks. It's a whole nother topic. I'd recommend reading the guide, this lexicon here, to learn more about it. But that is a huge, huge tuning change that they made to how reputations are going to be earned, and a massive nerf to inscription. It's still going to be good. The profession is still going to be good, but it's a massive nerf. The other thing is champions of Azeroth quests have been increased from 75 to 125. So making it more of a nerf to inscription and less of a, it's mandatory to go get this thing, otherwise you're never going to get the rep needed. But still, with the amount of actual quests there are, I don't know, this guy is, from what I last saw, he's saying that this is still a big nerf, but it makes the overall process of leveling better. Okay, Tortolan Seekers also has been increased. The rest of the reps have not changed. So basically a nerf to the standard reps and a buff to the kind of, specific obscure rep, not really obscure, but more specific reps, kind of like, not the zone reps, right? And these, of course, if you don't know anything about Champions of Azeroth, I would definitely recommend reading through this guide here. So Warfront turn-in went from 500 to 150 rep and 750 to 500 AP. That's a big, big nerf. And we've been seeing a piecewise dismantling of Warfront turn-ins, Warfront benefits in general. Frankly, overpowered content gains that we saw in the beta, and obviously they were never going to go live like this. But this, being a change this late, know, it makes you wonder what's going to happen with Warfronts. I don't know. Fell Meteor no longer usable in BFA zones. Probably the biggest change on this list. Huge change. Unbelievable change. So many people were relying on the Fell Meteor. If you don't know what it is, you got to go look it up. It's probably going to be, it would probably have been the most important item in the game. They already changed how you might acquire it thanks to the lack of realm hopping, so it's a lot harder to acquire it. It's probably only fair that they removed it for BFA zones, but yeah, this is going to change world PvP entirely. And in fact, one of my guildies, if you're watching this, he actually had a pretty funny story about how ridiculous the Fell Meteor was the other day. So anyway, it's probably a good thing that it's gone. Failure detection pylon no longer usable. This is another really big, odd change to Battle for Azeroth, especially leveling. Now, if you weren't thinking about this, there's a lot of things that you can do to potentially, especially if you're not a tank, if you run through a ton of mobs, you might be able to pop a pylon down, die on the other side of these giant packs of mobs, maybe even use it to get out of dangerous situations. These items were extremely strong in Mythic Plus regardless, and apparently they're not coming with us in BFA. Last minute change. So I don't know. It doesn't seem to be like that on live. I don't know if it's going to happen, but regardless, the probably most important change that everybody needs to know about is Dark Moon cards. Eye level 300, now 355. These Dark Moon cards are going to be best in slot pre-raid without question. They're going to be extremely strong. I haven't really considered the tank one. It looks pretty cool. It has self-healing on it. Of course, I like self-healing, but anyway, yeah, it looks like it's going to be huge. So still, inscription is going to be a very valuable profession to have. Weekly expedition reward is now 2,500 AP. I don't know what it was before, but yes, further solidifying that the AP from island expeditions is going to be one of the best ways to progress. That is a lot of AP. I'm talking a lot, like a staggering amount. So yeah, that's a lot. And don't forget, that's going to increase over time, right? So anyway, contracts don't expire upon death or logout, also very good. And various Azerite gear traits have buffed. We've been noticing a lot of tier 3 traits have been buffed. That is a big deal. And maybe it's discussed probably in this Azerite gear trait section. You could read all of this, but anyway, I just wanted to give a little bit of information about this. The guy's done a great job. This is a really cool thing. It tells you, what to do. I don't think you need 1,000 potions. I don't think you need 80 flasks, but regardless, if you want to be super prepared, you can do this. He also, has a bit about Azerite autopilot, which I am going to be using on launch. I understand his point. He's basically saying you shouldn't use it because it's going to skip things that you might not have seen. I've already seen them. I played it 8 times. I played through the story 8 times. I don't need to see it. But regardless, yeah, add-ons, different ways to prepare, the class discords, every spec. These things are very important, and you should definitely heed his wisdom. He's got even a preparation, a guide for leveling. This is, if you're going to read anything, I would heavily recommend reading this part. It's one of the most important things. Selecting the zones properly. Besides anything else he said, this is the most important thing you could do. Finish in Zuldazar, and that is one, because it's easily the most protected zone from PvP. If you're going to take a while to level, and you're not going to be one of the first characters on your war mode phase with leveling on, with still leveling 120, you're going to get ganked if you're in Nazmir and Vuldan. Those zones are going to be infiltrated with Alliance. But Zuldazar is, the Horde are protected in Zuldazar. There's a lot more central locations for Horde. So even if you did get ganked, it would be a lot easier to not get camped. Whereas in Nazmir and Vuldan, it's a lot less, more freeform. There's less rigidity in the Horde's defense. So I would definitely recommend that. And also because a lot of stuff is going to happen, as you see here, get closer to 116, 117, 118. There's a lot of stuff that's happening down here in the docks, and you want to be as close to that as possible so you're not spending as much time on flight paths. So definitely agree. He explains the war campaign, which is a mandatory part of this expansion, kind of similar to Suramar in the fact that it's going to unlock 2 Mythic 0 dungeons, which you will want to do as soon as possible. I'm not actually sure how quickly it's going to be, but I bet he has the answers to that in this, and I will be reading it myself. But yeah, as you see, in order to unlock the dungeons, you have to complete 12k rep apparently. So hey, you know what? You better get working on that. Start thinking about that day 1. And of course, he's got his daily to-do, which, was a very interesting thing in the Legion spreadsheet. Tells you pretty much what you want to prioritize. Main characters and alts get 120. Main characters gears at least 350 by the start of 4th reset. Azerite Neck is at least level 21. 5 exalted reputations. I don't think you can get, I don't know, does that count the Heroes of Azeroth one? I don't know. But yeah, a big thing about reputations. This previously was one of the most hot discussions because of the contract situation, how important Champions of Azeroth was going to be, and you know how unimportant, say, Tortolan Secrets was going to be, blah, blah, blah. So you really want to prioritize the world quest you're doing if you have limited time. Talks about the neck, talks about AP. It tells you a little bit about Champion Azeroth rewards, which are easily probably the most important thing that you could ever do in Battle for Azeroth. This is going to be extremely important, getting this reputation going. And again, he's got a full description on it. Talks about Azerite gear. I already have a very detailed video on the topic, but I'm very glad to see. This doesn't actually scroll down. Anyway, I have a very detailed video on the topic, but I'm really glad to see him talking about, this is very important here, telling you exactly how many traits you're going to need for these Azerite pieces. I think that's great. I'm glad he mathed this out. Professions too. I'm not really a big profession guy, but yeah, it's definitely important to know, especially with all the crafting changes. You want to know about that. Pre-raid gear, similar to how he broke it down in Legion, talking about where the best gear is going to come from. Obviously, Mythic Zeros are going to be kind of the pinnacle of it, but Emissary Quest dropping 340, that's going to be very good too. So you want to be aware of these things. And then, of course, this is going to be week 4, Mythic Plus and Uldair discussion. It's going to be the raid, not going to come out until September 4th, which is still a very important thing to note. And then Warfronts, I'm not sure what he might, let's see, there's some chance Warfronts will be open before the 5th week, making them of little interest to us. Below you'll find, oh, I see, he's saying like it's unlikely that they'll ever really be interesting for gearing, but they're a nice little way, and then the world bosses are going to be there and stuff like that. And let's see what PvP, doesn't really say much here. So anyway, I would definitely recommend checking out once again in the description down below. Yeah, definitely check it out. Full credit to this guy. His name's Medivh. I made a joke about not being able to pronounce his name in the last video. People didn't understand it. It's not how you spell Medivh, right? I don't know, but I guess that's how you spell it in Russian. So anyway, thanks for watching. Again, I have to say, I think this is really scary. It's a little scary. It's not. I'm not like worried, but I'm scared because if they're still making these big adjustments to Battle for Azeroth 1 week, about 10 days prior to the launch of the game. Whew, it's going to be an interesting launch, boys. You can watch me experience it live. I'm going to be live starting about an hour, maybe a little bit more than an hour live before the game launches, which is at 6 Eastern on Monday. That is February 13th or whatever. I'm going to be live streaming the first session. Probably go for about 8 hours. We'll see how I feel. See how if it's bugged, super bugged. I want to take a break, whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, tune in live. Make sure you guys give this credit. I would definitely recommend checking out the Discord. Learn as much as you can for the last few weeks or for the last few days of Legions, you know, pre-patch Battle for Azeroth, and that'll be everything. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one.